So it was a weekend of high-profile defeats, big games that disappointed, and a lot of games that really didn't go as fans would expect. Liverpool Football Club failing again, big question marks on top of their heads towards the final stretch of the season. The Manchester derby, pretty quality game, but finishing left everybody scratching their heads really as far as that quality in the final third was concerned. In the Serie A, Inter Milan have dropped points, so it gets interesting there as well. So a lot to munch on as far as highlights are concerned on the show this weekend. Let's get to the text and WhatsApp lines. Those are on your screen, so you can text into the show. Let me know exactly how you feel. How did your team fare this weekend? Remember, the show is probably brought to us by Scorecard. Let's do a quick turnaround. When we come back, I'll introduce my two good friends, and then we'll get today's conversation going. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. I am Benjamin Nketia. Coach Christopher Nimley returns to the show tonight. Coach, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ben.
Big man, what's going on?
I'm good.
Charlie.
Last week, I went to enjoy. So after the food bazaar, I was with the family, Charlie.
No, it's what it is.
Charlie, the place was booming.
Yeah.
Charlie.
Yeah, there's barely anywhere to step.
We should be doing that in more often.
I wish. You know, I was just saying that to somebody. It's just the work that goes into getting it done. It's just a lot.
The thing was top-notch.
But it's definitely that kind of events that's worth doing 3, 4, 5 times a year if possible.
I think you also have to consider the vendors, because they too have to come and...
Oh, for them, yeah, you could clearly see that they were overwhelmed.
Yeah.
Look,
as a vendor, I would rather be overwhelmed.
I spoke to about close to 10, 15 of them.
Yeah.
And the admission was clear. They were completely...
They didn't expect these numbers.
They didn't expect this. And for me, what made it even more... Look, all the products there, the food, the drinks, everything top-notch.
Yeah.
But there was one drink that has lived with me. There was this guy who did the drink from the cocoa. Is it kwa? Is it kwa? Kwa. Look.
I think I saw that.
I'm not running an advert for him, but I told him that I think he should beat down the price a bit. Every Ghanaian, the originality of that drink is so huge that every Ghanaian should have access to it. So I believe the only thing that may deprive people from having an access to it is the pricing of the bottle. There's a decent bottle, but that is costing 40 Ghana cedis.
Ooh.
Just like this. But the quality...
Top notch.
Look, there were wonderful drinks there. Everything, but the originality, how natural that drink tastes. Charlie, look, you should have been there.
Are you sure he didn't do a few things for you? Because the way you're praising there...
When I was when I entered with my wife and my
like
children...
a chocolate drink.
No, I'm saying, are you sure the drink didn't do any personal things for you?
No, it doesn't.
It hasn't done anything just right.
Look, I had a taste together with my wife.
Yeah.
Then when Fentu, our former colleague, when he came,
you gave him a taste.
I said, look, friend, let's go. There's some decent drink there. Let's go taste it. And when he tasted, he said, look, coach, I know you bought some already, but I need to buy more.
Testify.
And then friend just bought. I had already had one to, and then he bought another one for me. And I said, look, I could sit there and drink this quad drink all day. No wonder one of our cameramen here is admitting to the quality.
I think a lot of people are attesting to the fact, so I think that person is doing. They are doing something right.
The Ajia Tuozafi.
Yeah.
La ilaha.
Young man, this is a sports show. Let's go on with the football highlights.
It looks like we should also do a full show. Charlie, what's cooking? They should invite us back.
I think Appy should be watching. Coach Susu, myself, the sports crew, we should be on what's cooking. I mean, we can do a few things.
You know, we did one.
She should invite the Ajia, the Tuozafi woman.
You should bring the Tuozafi woman to it.
Charlie. By 5 o'clock, she's cooked and cooked and cooked and cooked. Everything finished. It's one show.
Let's get to the sports and let's get into what happened this weekend. Let's start off with the English Premier League. And Everton and Arsenal were at it again. Remember, Everton shaved points of Arsenal in their first leg in the league, and then they managed to do it again in the second leg. Let's get the highlights. 1-1 point split. Arsenal drop points. Arsenal lose ground again on the title race. Well, people say there's no title race anymore. Anyway, the biggest point of controversy in this game was that penalty that managed to pull Everton level. Penalty or not?
It's not a penalty. There's no way that is a penalty. Because even the Everton player himself, if you watch the highlight again, you could clearly see him after he went down.
Yeah.
He woke up
quickly
trying to get to the, because he knew he had not been fouled. He knew, and the replay. No wonder Mikel Arteta said, "Well, he watched it."
He said he's watched it over 15 times.
I've watched it over 100 times, and I'm still not convinced that it was a penalty. But look, having said that, Nketia, if you are an Arsenal supporter, you should be worried.
About what exactly?
You should be worried because it's looking like it's going to be a trophyless season again.
Still in the Champions League?
I don't think with this...
Rested player for the Real Madrid tie?
No, I don't think with this attacking force, let me put it that way, this attacking threat, I don't think...
Saka will be back for the Real Madrid.
He alone cannot solve the problem. Look, the problem looks so gargantuan that if you are an Arsenal fan, you should be looking at and be pondering how, where, when. I mean, how
Real Madrid are poor defensively.
Real Madrid may be poor defensively, but they got beat by the team that had a typical goal poacher over the weekend. This Arsenal team, that over-reliance on a makeshift striker who is naturally a midfielder, it's just not going to cut it for me. In the big games, like what is going to happen on Tuesday, you will need proper strikers to get people like Rudiger and Asensio and Co to be aware of his presence and then put them to work. I don't see how this Arsenal team is going to put, or the front man of Arsenal is going to put Real Madrid. Maybe the only player, Martinelli, I watched yesterday, looks a bit into it now. He's beginning to bring back some good form. His work rate, his belief to run at the fullback is there. That is where Real Madrid too has an issue at right back. They don't have any of their match. It's I don't know, maybe Angelotti. No, if you peg
it's possibly good to be him at right back.
Then it's all day.
Or in recent times they've played Valverde there sometimes, depending on the midfield composition.
I think he has to go Valverde. If he goes Vasquez, Martinelli will run him throughout at the Emirates that day. But Arsenal's biggest problem is that they don't have a genuine goal threat. We watched the game yesterday.
You should have seen how Merino was really beaten by the Everton defenders. O'Reilly and Branthwaite. 6'4", 6'5".
I mean, they are natural defenders, so they know how to read the ball.
And he went down like 3 or 4 times where you could tell that he was feeling the physicality of it.
Yeah, of course. And he's not used to.
Rudiger and Asensio are going to be similar.
They are going to be similar. Rudiger will fancy the physical battle. Asensio will do likewise. So at the end of the day, if you're an Arsenal, but surprisingly too, their captain is completely off. Yeah. Since he came back from the injury, his influence has just gone down. I think
his confidence, it feels like there's a confidence issue because sometimes they are counter-attacking and he just turn around.
Because you see, it is because he doesn't believe those in front of him. There's no trust. Maybe the coming back of Saka, because we all know that the two of them has got that telepathic understanding where they like to do overloads on the right, then they pick the pass. Look, Everton, I'm happy for David Moyes. I'm happy for Everton. You know that I've always prayed that they don't get relegated. They are indeed one of the very traditional teams of English football, and it would be very sad to see them go. So when the appointment of David Moyes was done, we all sat here. I remember saying that if there's anybody very capable of saving them, they've gone in for the right manager. All he needs to do is to walk in there, let everybody understand that this was once my home. I am back home. The supporters bought into the idea, and look at where he secured them Premier League football for next season. And we are going to see them move into that beautiful stadium.
And that was very important because you pay a lot of money to build that stadium. And then you drop down to the championship.
That would have been
a disaster. A financial disaster.
Everton Football Club holding Arsenal once again. Just thoughts on that game. I don't know if you want to share thoughts on Everton or Arsenal first.
Which would you prefer?
Everton, actually, because I think they've done some good work. So they did 4 wins on the bounce.
Then they lost to Liverpool.
They lost to Liverpool, and now they got that draw against Arsenal as well. What's the potential for this team? How do they spin this around now that they know that they are safe? Do they do a roster turnaround because you're going to a big stadium, big money expectations? What do you do?
I think where they are, will be lower mid-table. You are safe in the Premier League, but you won't move trees. I think that's where they should stay for next season because they made a lot of bad financial decisions.
Is the squad good enough? Is what I'm asking.
To stay in the Premier League?
Yep.
Oh, of course, that one.
I think they'll need to move away some of the old guys. Okay.
Yeah,
somebody Ashley Young,
Seamus
Coleman, and then even their centre back. What's the name? Tarkowski. Look, he's aging. And if you look at him, he only fancies the physical body. He's able to thrive when they sit deep. But when they move high up the pitch, he's unable to live with the pace of the game. So I think if they can hold on to their young players like, is it Brantwaite and then O'Brien and those, and even in midfield, Idrissa Gana Gueye. He's not the Idrissa Gana Gueye we all used to know.
Idrissa Gana Gueye, Abdoulaye Doucouré, very injury prone, and age is technically not on their side. If you look at the investment they've done into that facility, into that infrastructure, that stadium, it's clear the people will have to spend money.
Oh, they do.
Because you don't build that
and
accept anything at all on the field. The structure will have to be commensurate with the playing body, so that at least you've got a secured.
Let's get some Europa League, Champions League, football.
Conference League.
The thing is, it will probably take 2 or 3 years because of the amount of money they spent badly and the debts that the old owner, because they are trying to get new owners, the debts that the old owner has piled up. Clearing all of that out and fixing the problem. But as long as you secure your Premier League status, you are safe. I understand what you're saying.
What you don't want them to gamble with is to keep the same team and go and battle relegation again.
That's what I
don't want to gamble.
And that's what I'm just worried about. You see, because it's nice that Moyes comes in mid-season. Players are motivated. He connects with the fan base. He connects with the players there. He can get them to a more than safe ground.
That's right.
What happens next season? Everybody gets more competitive outside of the new guys who are coming in.
I think there's a lot of teams in financial trouble in the Premier League. That's another thing. I think you are right. Everyone wants to strengthen. But a lot of teams are in financial trouble, so they are making strange decisions. Let's take Aston Villa, for example. Not that they've made bad transfers, but their season, they had to make some weird, because they had to sell Douglas Luiz. We all know they didn't want to sell Douglas Luiz. But they were
and they sold their striker,
John Duran.
You see teams are making these moves because their finances are pinching everybody. Teams are not in good financial position. So that's what I'm saying. And Everton have had a points deduction. So they are also thinking about, we don't want to get in that situation again. I understand everything you guys are saying, that it's good to be ambitious, aim for the stars.
But you think stability first
But
before...
at this point, the way the Premier League is being hard on financial crimes, and what we might see with Man City, because let's say Man City gets a 30-40 point deduction for what they are doing with their charges. As a club, you are thinking...
And even, I think yesterday or day before, Chelsea themselves...
they're in trouble for some maneuvering they tried to do by selling their own club to themselves.
The Premier League has agreed with their maneuvering, but UEFA hasn't. So they now have to go and do negotiations with UEFA. So there's a lot of financial...
I am hearing that they could be banned from signing players.
There's that possibility.
And UEFA might ban them from competition, a fine, player registration issues. So a lot of teams are looking at all of these things happening and thinking to themselves that, look, we can't spend money we don't have necessarily because there are going to be consequences. The authorities are putting this in mind that we are going to crack down hard on these things. So that's the reason I'm saying that Everton should relax, because they are just coming back from a bad financial situation.
So relaxation, they have to relax, yes. But some money will have to be pumped.
Oh, no, don't get me wrong.
I even feel like
you said, once the old guys move on, you move their wages
for me, right?
That one is fine, but I'm saying that they should not overextend themselves.
They have an experienced manager.
For me, all I even say is, when I even talk about roster turnaround, it's not even a money thing. You can be shrewd with roster turnarounds, especially if you're an Everton. You can get some decent free agents here and there. You can pick up some loan deals here and there. You can sell one big player, roll over on 3 players, that kind of thing.
Which big player can Everton sell? That's part of their problem.
I think
big player in terms of ability, not necessarily wages.
I'm talking about in terms of fee. Which player do you think can get?
They're overhyped English young boy who they think is worth Brantwaite. They think he's worth over 70.
I think they can get 60 million, 70 million.
But you see, we are here talking about the fact that their other centre back options are Will Keane and Tarkowski. If they sell Brantwaite,
Invest
So
the
now
money.
you see,
Do a Brighton, sell Brantwaite for 60 million and go look for 2 centre-backs for 10 million.
but you see, those centre-backs for 10 million, a lot of Brighton players they sign, they sometimes they are still on the bench for a year or two before they come. So it's a very delicate balancing act, which is why I'm just saying that you have to look at the financial situation. I think that
basically look for stability
but you
first.
see, luckily for them, their owners are very happy to spend money. These are the guys who own Roma right now. They are very happy to spend money. They are willing to invest in football. They are not afraid to spend money. Look, they hired Jose Mourinho for a reason, because they are willing to pay big wages. So it's not like they are not willing to spend money. But as it's shown in Roma, that if the money is spent and fans are not happy, it can turn toxic. Because basically their board has been run out of town. They had to hire Claudio Ranieri to be manager for the third time or whatever, because he's a fan favorite to kind of cool them down. It's worked. But the kind of turmoil that there was at Roma at the beginning of the season, where fans were coming to the training ground, board members were being attacked in the streets, that kind of thing.
Italian fans take it to an extreme.
You don't want to get in another situation like that. So I think that they should analyze the situation, probably get the right scouting, set up some things up in place, then think about how you turn over the squad. Like Coach said, there's a lot of old guys you can get rid of. Freshen the squad up age-wise. But I think in terms of spending money,
they should slow down.
They should not overextend themselves, because if you fall foul of PSR and you get a points deduction and the players don't work out, you're in a relegation battle with a handicap. You don't want to be there.
Well, let's get to more highlights. This time, Villa Park. Good game overall. It was Aston Villa taking on Nottingham Forest. Both teams with Champions League ambitions. Let's check out the highlights. So Unai Emery gets the 3 points. Let me start off with you, Susu, this time. Unai Emery is battling Champions League, battling in the Premier League, all at a really high level.
Battling the FA Cup.
Yep, all at a really high level.
And they've picked up form at a good time in the season. I think for the first half of the season, they weren't as good as they were last season. I think the Champions League group stage didn't help them, because if I remember correctly, after a Champions League game, they've won like 1 or 2 games all season, and they played quite a few Champions League games. So you can imagine what that has done to their league form. And there's a lot of good teams around them. But it looks like they are picking up form at a good time. I think they've won, 6 in a row, current last count. So the form is picking up at a good time. Tough match against PSG in the week, but he managed to rest players and still get the result. Very disappointing results for Forest, of course, because they are usually the team. But the thing about Forest is that they're a team that takes the lead, they defend it, and they see out leads. So when you score first and you make them open up, they can be rattled. And I think that that's what we saw, because look how quickly the second goal came after the first goal. That Aston Villa score, Nottingham Forest, okay, we have to open up, change things up. We have 2 goals down, and that's the game. So Emery is a good coach. I'll say this, he has his limitations. Sometimes, the thing about Emery, I've noticed that sometimes when he gets beaten very heavily. His team, sometimes, the way he sets them up, when things go badly, they go very badly. But he's a great tactical coach when it comes to figuring out a game plan, which is why his Europa League record is so great. And we even saw him with Villarreal in the Champions League, taking them to a semi-final. So he can think of a game plan, he can execute it, and he can get results. Sometimes, over the course of a league season, I think he's not as strong as he could be, but he's still a very solid coach. And considering that it's 5 places in the Champions League, and you look at the fixtures Chelsea have, you look at Man City's form, I think they can sneak into that top 4 for sure, because they have the momentum right now, and they are the form team in that top 4 race. I think Crystal Palace are a bit too far to be considered in the top 4 race. They are the other form team in the league. So for me, look, Aston Villa are the team to watch in the last few weeks of the season, because I think Liverpool are a bit tired. They'll still win the league. Nottingham Forest, they'll keep their top 3. Arsenal, I think, are the same. They are maintaining. But Villa are the ones on the up and up. And I think when you look at City, Chelsea, they are not as good. And Bournemouth seem to have forgotten how to play football. So I think Villa are the team to watch.
Good?
Yeah, I think I'm a bit disappointed in Nottingham Forest. If you watch the highlight again, that first goal, the manner in which they considered that first goal, that wasn't typical of Nuno Espirito team. We know they hardly push high up the pitch. In that first goal, they had not pushed very high up the pitch. They had the back line, the 3 centre-backs, right in front of the 18-yard or within the arc of the 18. As to how they allowed that, just
one pass,
long ball from Tottenham, deep in the half of Villa, through behind them, and
one pass to Rodgers, first touch and he was through.
The control was super. Look look at it. He saw
the
ball.
control created the
created the ball.
Like he more or less carried the ball, the control
into his path,
then bang into the. He said that is what
one
you want to see.
touch control, second touch finish.
That is what you want to see at this level. But
and he's not even a striker.
That is it.
He actually was a striker in the academy.
Okay,
then you can see
he definitely has some striker
instincts.
Exactly.
I think because of his ball carrying. Look at him when
he's an excellent ball carrier. So I think that is where my disappointment is. And again, tactically, I was disappointed with Nuno. Your game plan has always been that you set up your team not to concede the first goal. So unfortunately, you concede the first goal. The team that normally scores is the most vulnerable. That's what we say in football. You are most vulnerable just after scoring. So one would have thought that. If you look at the time space in between the two goals, that was tactical naivety.
2 minutes.
2 minutes, tactical naivety. You've considered very early in the game. It doesn't mean you should abandon your game plan. Hold on to your game plan, keep the shape, weather the storm, and then let's go back to the basics. And because they had Elanga, Hudson-Odoi, these guys were doing very, very well. They were playing in space. They were exploiting the space behind the Villa team. But it was so very unusual to see Nuno's Esperanto teams concede 2 goals in 2 minutes.
Very.
2 goals in 2 minutes.
And they were very blunt in attack
Exactly.
as well.
And
they
that
were
made
missing
life...
there was no action up top for them.
Especially. That made life extremely difficult for them. But they did very well. You could see their fighting spirit in that second half. They pushed Villa back, and then they eventually got the goal. But just that, look, there's so much at stake. And Unai Emery must be applauded for the work he's done. You see, for him to be battling 3 fronts.
He's in every competition that matters.
That matters. He's not going to win the league. But they've enjoyed everything Champions League.
They want Champions League. The revenue, and everything else that comes with it.
Like I said, they are in PSR trouble as well.
Exactly. So if you win the Champions
League revenue will do them a lot of good.
I'm
sure they'll sell one more big player.
I saw something about how their wages are right now currently 90% of the money they make. So they definitely need the Champions League money.
They need that to beat them down.
If your revenue is going to go down after that, you're in big trouble.
You're in big trouble. So yes, look, they are in the semi-finals of the FA Cup, isn't it?
Yes.
Look, they may not go past PSG. Look, it will be I think
Unai Emery will be extra motivated for that.
He will.
I think if anyone can,
it is him.
Figure it out with this. When you look at in terms of squad quality, the difference, he can figure it out because he's a game plan man.
Maybe tactically yes, but I don't trust his back line. I don't trust
the back line is weak.
And if you look at the quality that PSG presents, or they will present,
you know how I feel? I feel like we are all judging PSG on the performance against Liverpool.
No, they've been super.
I think they were bad.
They were bad in the group stages.
And then they finished the playoffs really well, took the form into the Liverpool games, and then finished the season well.
Before Dembele was scoring, because if you realize Dembele has scored like 20 goals in 2025.
That's right.
And then in the first half of the season, he has scored like 4 or 5.
That's right.
And he picked up. So now they basically have the most informed attacker in Europe.
Leading the line.
So it changes the dynamic.
I wonder if they can be as relentless.
And remember, they've added Kivicha Kvaratskhelia in addition.
So
it's Bakola was playing very well before.
At Napoli.
And remember, Desiree Doué is also there. So it's not like
he's crossed 10 assists and 10 goals.
And he's what, 18, 19. So there's a lot of, and then the midfield, very good players. They can do it or they win the ball.
The midfield is where all the action is for them.
PSG of
Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz
walks into any game believing that they have what it takes to score at least 2 goals.
And the most important thing is now it's a team game. It's no longer
they are not overly reliant on Mbappe, Messi, Neymar.
You see,
we work as a team. We win as a team. We lose as a team.
And the most important thing was Mbappe never pressed.
Yes.
Neymar and
never
Messi
pressed.
By that age
never
has stopped pressing.
But right now, everybody.
Yeah. So you can't, like, I'm trying to think of the way you beat PSG because they press aggressively. They compact the space.
Technical. You see,
and they are great with the ball.
They play every single player, from goalkeeper to defenders to midfield.
Okay, maybe
goalkeeper.
Why are you always on this young man's case?
Donnarumma is not comfortable with his feet. I agree. But look, every PSG player, from backline, midfield, so comfortable with the ball at their feet, and therefore, if you are the team in front of them, what you cannot afford to do is to do a lot of turnovers, because if you keep giving them the ball, they will use their quality.
And I think the way Aston Villa plays too doesn't help them, because you know Emery, he likes the transition game. He likes to play quick. But when you are trying to make those decisions quickly, play fast, it plays into a team like PSG's hands, because you have to score with those transition opportunities. Because the thing about transition is it leaves you open to
the moment you pick and you want to go, if you don't execute it properly, and the pitch, there are huge spaces that they can go and punish.
But like we say about these football games, look, if you have one bad game in the Champions League, let's say PSG have a bad game, Villa win the first leg 2-0, for example, and now they are able to sit back, compress the game, see it out. It can be difficult to score those 2 goals. So I think they have all the chance in the world, but if they can't get results in the first leg, and it's like they have to go into the
France
second leg
and then
to chase a game, I think they'll go out.
Big weeks coming up for Unai Emery and Aston Villa. They've worked to get here, so hopefully they can see it through. Let's take our first break here on the show. Show probably brought to us by Scorecard. When we come back, we'll bring you highlights from stuff involving Chelsea, Manchester United, Liverpool, and all these other teams. Stay with us here on Scorecard. Welcome back to Scorecard here on Channel 1 TV. Let's get into some back-to-back action. Chelsea Football Club were up against Brentford in what I thought was going to be a tricky tie. In the end, it was tricky, but Chelsea fans were left frustrated because they just could not put the ball in the back of the net. Tottenham Hotspur fans are experiencing a bit of a mixed bag ending the season. They were 3-1 victors when they took on Southampton. Let's get back-to-back highlights of those 2 games. Let's start off by talking about the game that had goals in it. Tottenham, Southampton, 3-1 is how it ended. Southampton have had a really poor season. Kamal Dean registering an assist this weekend. Just quick thoughts on the young man. We saw him come on as a sub for the Black Stars in the last window as well.
You see, I've always had issues with him regarding his final ball. So offset, you could clearly see that I was first to acknowledge that.
Hey, he got an assist today.
See, that is what he should be doing. Because if you look at, he's technically very, very good. I think in the Black Stars, he's the only player who fancy himself running with the ball with proper pace at his feet. Dancing past people as if they were not there. But you can do all that. If the final ball is not what it should be, work done is 0. So I was happy to see him do that assist. But it's just unfortunate. You remember when he made this move?
I remember.
I was so worried.
We were rooting for him to go to a Germany or something like that.
You wanted him to go to Leipzig.
I wanted him to go to Leipzig because I saw that this move would not materialize. He went to relegation, came back.
And he didn't play much in the championship as well.
I am worried because I want to see the Ghanaian players play in the topmost league in the world.
And he has the potential to be a top winger in the world.
And I questioned his advisors at the time, why they took him to Southampton. At the time, even Everton wanted him. They kicked against that because of the money. Fine, that is done. But look, they've had a very, very bad season. For a team that got relegated and at the very first time of asking them to restore Premier League, they did exactly that. One would have thought that the big men, the board, those people having the cash, they would have structured this team in such a way that they should have survived at least one more season. I think one of the badly run teams in the EPL or in English football has been Southampton.
True, I agree.
Look at the amount of money they've made over the years since they start selling Luke Shaw, Schneiderlin, Sadio Mane,
Van
Dijk. They sold a lot of players.
They literally had a star-studded side. They had Pochettino as head coach.
Exactly, and they sold all these guys, making in excess of.
This is literally a regression.
Was Ramsdale there?
Yeah, Ramsdale was there initially. Arsenal bought him from there. Then he. So for me, I don't get it. If you watch them play, and so much imbalance in what they do. Everywhere they've been, everywhere they go, home and away, we all conclude that they were going to lose. And they hardly prove any of us wrong. The football has been very bad. The insistent on trying to build from the back. They've considered more goals from their own errors.
I think last time I checked, it was like 11. And the next highest was like 8. I'm sure it's gone higher.
Yeah, it will. So for me, look, it is what it is. On the part of Spurs, absolutely nothing to play for, just like my Manchester United. But they are hoping to establish some form of momentum and rhythm to get them pushed for the Europa Cup. They are still in the Europa League, though.
And that's why, I think in this game, they actually made some changes. So I was surprised they won't comfortably manage to sub out a few of their players.
It's Southampton, so they can do that. So for Posh, look, if he doesn't win then the Europa Cup,
You mean Maresca?
No, I mean the Tottenham manager.
Postecoglou.
Yeah,
Postecoglou.
If he doesn't win then the Europa Cup, look, it will be extremely difficult to sit on set and defend why he should still be the manager. I think, like he rightly said, he wins cups in every second year.
Season.
This is not going to. He has a chance to do that.
This is his only chance.
That's the only chance. If he doesn't win it, it will be very difficult. Because the people at Spurs, the supporters are not happy with the style of football. They think he's the reason why they've sustained a lot of injuries, the high octane, high intensity that he's constantly insisted on that they play is the reason why most of their good players, like that Dutch defender.
Mickey van der Ven.
Look, without him, they've never looked the same.
True.
Without him and then Romero, that back line has always been shaky. And for them, they win today, they lose 2-3 games, come and win, draw. Those sort of undulating performances will get you nowhere. So for me, look, yes, they won against Southampton, but it is Southampton. The real deal is what they do in the Europa Cup coming this Thursday.
Let's talk about Chelsea. Or you want to talk about Spurs?
Before I'll talk about Chelsea, and before I talk about Chelsea, I'll say something about why Southampton have had such a bad season. The manager they started with was not pragmatic. He wasn't adaptable.
Yeah, man.
Russell Martin. He came and because of how badly he started the season,
Yep.
look at where they are now. Mind you, they've been relegated based on this result, so they are done.
Yep.
Their season is finished. They have 10 points at this stage of the season. So you have to wonder how many.
They've played 30 games.
They play about 30, 31 games. You have 10 points.
So
now,
that is out of a possible 90 points.
you have 10.
They have 10.
And the reason I'm bringing this up is how many games did Russell Martin win? How many points did he get before they sacked him? Before a new person comes to also get points. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And that should tell you how badly the plan worked and why this whole idea of we play a certain way, you don't adapt to the players can be problematic. Now let me come to Chelsea. The reason I bring it up is Enzo Maresca is doing the same thing, but with higher quality ingredients. So he's getting away with it. The team is no good. I mean, fair enough, they got 0-0 against Brentford. Brentford are a decent team, whatever. You rested some players. Maybe I think about the Europa League. But there have been so many times this season for Chelsea where it's like, you see what Maresca is trying to do, and you're asking yourself, why is he doing it with these particular players? And
in this game, they made as many as 8 changes.
And for me, my problem is I'll blame the board for some of these things because you as a board who hire someone, you know how they play, how they manage their football. You know what they are coming to do, and you know the players you have. So you should be able to look, are our players suitable? Because the football people in that club, the people who actually know the game, should be able to tell the board that the way this guy plays and the players we have, this won't work. But it seems that a lot of these people, I don't know what the managers tell them in their job interview. I don't know what the football people, what their communication is. But it seems like they are unable to see that this manager and this squad are not compatible. Because what I see Enzo Maresca doing with Chelsea, and this is why I think they'll drop out of the top 4, I just feel like he's not using the squad to the best of their ability. There's glaring holes in their squad, don't get me wrong. I've said it before, the fact that you spend 2 billion, 1 billion, whatever the amount is, and you don't have a
proven striker.
You don't have let's not even go into a striker. Let's start from
proven a quality goalkeeper, a quality centre back.
For me, that's the bigger issue because
the foundations are weak.
Because the quality goal scorer is the hardest thing to get in football. Not getting that right, a lot of top teams have struggled with that. That is more forgivable than not being able to get centre backs who you can trust for 38 games in the Premier League. Not getting a goalkeeper who you can trust. And that's why I say it comes back to Maresca. You are looking at these players, you see Robert Sanchez making mistakes every week. Why do you keep putting him in a position to make mistakes every week? Because at a certain point, it's no longer the players for me. Because if you have players who are making the same mistakes every week, as a manager, you should be able to say, you can't do this. Stop doing it. Do something else. So for me, that's where my problem lies with Chelsea. I think this result, it worked out for them because Man City also didn't win.
I have a dissenting view to the result. I think
this is the game.
Yeah, this is the game they should have played to win.
Because of the
and I completely disagree with the team selection on the day. Look, Nketia, if you asked the true Chelsea fan that winning the Conference League and guaranteeing Champions League football for next season, which one do they truly want? I'll be shocked if any Chelsea person tells me.
Someone texted and said that
they want the Conference
League. He wants
League.
to win the Conference League because if they go to the Champions League,
this is Chelsea. This is Chelsea. And How many Chelsea supporters will watch a game between Chelsea and Noah, Chelsea and Peter, Chelsea and John?
They are playing Liga Warsaw.
Warsaw. How many of Chelsea true fans will watch games involving Chelsea and such teams?
Man, you know where
I would watch Manchester United playing
Poland,
Noah and Peter and John and Warsaw. What sort of competition is that? So therefore, if you look at the games they've got left to play, they'll play Newcastle.
Yeah.
All their games apart from the Ipswich game are against teams with which they are battling the top 4 or top 5.
Apart from Liverpool.
Apart from Liverpool. But Liverpool themselves will need the results.
Yep.
So you have to play Newcastle. You have to play Liverpool. You have to play, I've forgotten. You have to play Aston Villa.
Yeah.
You have to play Manchester United. You have to play, look.
They have a very tough run to end the season.
Run to the end of the season. So as a coach, it's good you take it a game at a time. But anytime coaches make the statement that we take it a game at a time, it doesn't mean they don't project into the future. You should look at what is ahead of you and say that, look, we need to win this, win this, win this. This is possibly could go either way.
Yeah.
So this game, Brentford prior to this game, have not been doing great.
Yeah. And they are mid-table.
They are not hungry. They are not there to achieve anything. Yeah. Their Premier League status is guaranteed. So why would you put up a team that will mean that you cannot go out there and get a 3 points?
But coach, clearly from his lineup, he was okay with the draw.
That's what I'm saying.
Lineup itself,
that is what I disagree with.
No, I don't disagree with what you said, but I'm saying that based on where the table is now, they've gotten away with their draw. They should have won, but they've gotten away with their draw because Man City failed to pick up points.
Even per the highlight that we just witnessed, they should have lost.
We didn't see anything from them.
Yeah. Because we didn't see any goal action.
It was all
Brentford. Yeah. They should have lost. So what would have happened if they had lost?
So City have not picked up points. So okay, for now, you're still 4th.
Yeah.
But like I said, going into these games against teams that are around you, want it more. And let's say you're also playing on Thursday. If he's going to try this rotation thing against some of these teams around them in the Premier League, they will get beat because...
No, but what is shocking to me is that, what has been shocking to me, he's rather rotated his team on Thursday and play his strongest team in the league. So why the sudden change?
Well, we're getting to the business end of the Europa League.
No, that is the conference league. It's the quarterfinals. Which team are they playing?
Liga Warsaw.
Warsaw. If you cannot beat Warsaw, then it's better you don't even play in that such games.
So, look, for me, like I said, they've gotten away with it for this week. But those 3 points could be, those 2 points that they didn't get
we'll come back to
very important later in the season because those tough games, the way I see Chelsea's backline and goalkeeper, I don't expect them to, look, I saw those games, let's say of the 18 points there, if they get 9, I'll be surprised. Yeah. That will surprise me. So you can imagine what I'm expecting from them if 9 is a good, look, and I don't expect them to even, I expect them to lose at least 2. Let's start with that. They will lose at least 2. So for me,
as we speak, Man City, they are done with Arsenal, they are done with United, they are done with Liverpool, they are done with Newcastle. So the Man City games are relatively easy. And you have to go there.
I'm projecting best case scenario, 6 points from those games. Seriously. And looking at the way Aston Villa, like we've talked about, climbing up, even Fulham.
Fulham are red hot right now.
They are playing Fulham to go to Craven Cottage.
Even Fulham are a bit behind, but Fulham are flying up. All those teams around Newcastle, we didn't even mention
Newcastle have 2 games in hand actually.
And Newcastle
they play tomorrow night.
And who are they playing?
Leicester.
So they are going to win that game.
When they win, they push you. They are ahead of you.
So right now, this situation is looking very bad for Chelsea. And if they drop too low, let's say they drop 8th or 9th, because the other team, these Fulham fly up, and they drop 8th or 9th, and they don't get any European football. Maybe, and let's say they win the Conference League. Now, you have an issue with UEFA because
that is it.
You have this your financial maneuvers. They are not happy with it. What fine will UEFA give? Will they fine you? Will they ban you? What will UEFA do?
It's likely to be a fine, a ban, and then not being able to sign players for at least a year.
So whatever UEFA have planned, and that might even be why we saw them in March start buying players.
Exactly.
That might be even why they look, we're probably going to get banned. So let's buy some players. So it's all so the Chelsea situation is very odd. They need, there's a lot of things going.
He said people are anxious, but they should calm down. He's in control. Okay. Everything is under control.
I'm worried because from what we've seen with his time at the club, he's not if he's in charge, you should be worried.
Well, let's see if Liverpool fans are worried about their shaky last couple of games. They said that they required the international break to rejuvenate. Came back and won against Everton, even though it was a slim win, stumbled against Fulham in a game that possibly could have been worse. But let's get the highlights, and then we'll come back in studio and discuss. Coach, I don't know if you're worried about Liverpool or not, but the performances are very, very disturbing if you've been following the pattern.
I think nobody should care about the performances as we speak. They've gotten themselves in pole position. It's about winning the league. You ask the Liverpool fan, do you want to play beautiful football and lose, or play ugly and win and take the cup away? If I'm a Liverpool fan, I say, look, whatever you need to do to make sure we get hold of that cup, do it. So in that sense, if this was earlier on in the season, where the league, in my view, hadn't been decided, then you have to be worried. Because
So is this what, fatigue?
I think it comes down to coaching. This coach has stuck with then about 7, 8 of the players has been there. You only don't find them there when they are injured. It has gotten to the stage where he needs to begin to trust in the others and get them to start games and get them to enjoy the players. You see, somebody like Mo Salah, I saw him today and I realized that, look, if I'm the one in charge, not to send any bad message across, because of his contract issue, you don't want to create any story around him, but start benching him. But I would have started to, let's give somebody like Elliott a start today, and let's see how it goes. With Salah being your weapon, they prove stubborn, then you throw him in there. That's not to say you are done. A team like Liverpool shouldn't have issues when they decide to tweak the personnel on the pitch. The standard should be such that whoever finds himself starting the game should play according to what is demanded or what is required. But Arne Slot hasn't trusted that boy, Kwanzaa. He's not trusted Endo. Kwanzaa was his starting partner to Van Dijk. He made a mistake in the very first game.
And he took him off.
Took him off. He's never restored the ball. He's only asked the boy to come in when he's not got any right, solid fullback. He's done that over the season. Somebody like Endo. It's clear that Gravenberch has had a wonderful season. But you've gotten to the stage where pragmatism, in my view, should be the way to go. Okay? And the best pragmatic of all the Liverpool midfielders is Endo. You see, he came into this team under Jurgen Klopp. We all didn't give him enough because we all agreed that he'd come to the Premiership a bit late. I think already in his 30s.
Doesn't even look like it.
He was about 30.
Doesn't look like it.
But he's a steady player.
He's as fit as anybody on that pitch.
Of course, he's a Japanese. We know how these people take care of themselves. So the manager, in refusing to trust and refresh his team, because you could see the fatigue in the team. When you can analyze the movement, look at somebody like Szoboszlai. He's not moving the way he should be moving.
And Jota has been in poor form. He's insisting on playing him in matches.
But you have to understand. You want to play Darwin Núñez.
No, you see, it is not about playing Darwin. Darwin Núñez may have his flaws, okay, but I think under the circumstance, I think when you start him, we saw that it cost them in the Carabao Cup. You remember when we did the game, and I said that I would start Darwin Núñez all day because of the physicality of the Newcastle defender. He didn't do that. Liverpool actually became a better team when Núñez got introduced into the game.
I think it's game by game, of course.
It's game by game. And I think we've gotten to the stage where if it does, it is just that Arsenal themselves are far off. But if this was
a hot race,
7-6 points gap,
Liverpool would have been in a lot of trouble.
7-6 points gap. Look, don't forget, I think they still have to play Arsenal. Liverpool still have to. They still have to play Arsenal.
I think
if it is a 7-6 point gap.
Look, a draw and they have what, 8 matches left to play.
That's a draw. And Arsenal themselves are toothless. But if Arsenal they had their players back, the attacking players in the team, Saka, Havertz and Co are all there. Then, if it was 6-7 point gap,
I'll just point something out. Last season, Arsenal drew 5 games and lost 5 games.
That's right.
And won the rest. This season, they've drawn 11 and lost 3.
There you go.
So they are nowhere near where they were last season. If it was Arsenal of last season,
then
and I said this on radio, this would be a title race. But luckily for Liverpool, I think their next 2 games are very soft. I think they are playing West Ham and someone. I can't remember.
Southampton.
It was Southampton.
Yeah, so they will collect 6.
They play Southampton twice already. I think it's Ipswich. Maybe.
I think it's Ipswich. They will just collect 6 points.
Something. Whoever it's, I can't remember who exactly. But the point is, if they don't get 6 points from the next 2 games, if they get 2 points, I will be worried. If they gave him 4 points, I'll be like,
I think they need about.
I think they will. I think if
about
you can check,
7, 8 points to win.
No, they need about 11 points. But could they just let you know which their next 2 games are? Because
I will get that.
I'm pretty sure it's West Ham and someone. So that's like 6 points because West Ham have been very poor.
Yeah, man.
I don't think Graham Potter has actually improved their team. No, I don't even know if maybe he's made them worse. So when you look at their fixtures and who they have to play, you're thinking to yourself, okay, if Liverpool gets 6 points in their next 2 games,
they're playing Leicester. So it is Leicester and West Ham. So they're going to whip them
exactly.
both. And then
so looking at that, knowing that they need about 11 points. That's if Arsenal win all their games.
That is if Arsenal were to win
and
all
their 8 games. I don't see
games.
Arsenal winning all their 8 games, which is another thing. So it's more realistic to say that they need more like
maybe
8 or 7 points to win it. So if you beat West Ham and Leicester,
you are 2 points off.
1-0, 2-0 or whatever. That's it. That's basically it.
Probably one more win and then you are home enjoy.
So like for me, that's all it is. Because I just don't feel like I feel like definitely there seems to be some slowing down.
They are laboring.
But you see, they've built enough of a lead, which is why we say it's a marathon, not a sprint. Because at the end of the day, sometimes even the marathon, if you sprint early and you do enough of a
you can afford to give yourself some.
You can afford to cool down. It's not the best strategy, but it can work.
When you turn and you realize that those coming from behind are far off, you can afford to slide yourself and dance a bit.
You're not going for if you're going for a world record, maybe then you want to. But like otherwise, so for me, I'm disappointed with their results in the last few weeks, but based on the games that are coming up, I think they should be. And based on the fact that the person chasing them is just not where they need to be. Because but 11 draws is a mammoth.
It's criminal.
It's a lot of draws. And considering that last season they drew 5, probably the season before, I think that's probably as many draws as they've drawn in the 2 seasons before combined.
Yeah.
It's that many draws.
That's Arsenal, you mean?
Yeah, Arsenal. So for me, it's like, it's just not their season. So next year is going to be very big for Arsenal. But I think this season, Liverpool have got it. They should secure their title. They should start doing their contract negotiations and all of that.
Well, let me read a few of the messages that have come through, and then we'll take another break here on the show. Okay, so this one here says, it's from Abraham Jedu from Broadcasting. Says, good evening to you guys. Another sad weekend as my Man United drew with rival City, but happy in the Ghana Premier League as Hearts of Folk defeated Midiama. Now, this one says, good evening, Moshosho from Nungwa. Seriously, I'm now enjoying the EPL, and as a Chelsea fan, I will congratulate coach and his Man United also for drawing with City. Okay, this one says, good evening, guys. I still don't understand why Maresca came out with that weak lineup. Chelsea could have won against Brentford easily and open up the gap ahead of City, because I'm not so sure that United would deal with City. Well, they didn't. This one here says that I want to talk about the Under-17 AFCON. A lot of talent there. Very own Aliou Dramé from La Masia scored a hat-trick for Gambia versus Somalia. I think this is coming from all the way in the Gambia, I think. This one here says, tell coach United don't deserve Fernandes. They should hand him over to my team, Madrid. Lamine Nyasi from the Gambia. Yes, I think he sends that message as well.
They can show us like 90 million.
Hey, let him go. Fernandes is not 30 years old.
Yeah, he's 30.
90 million?
Of course. How much in this current market?
Because of the 30. If he was 26 or 27, I would agree. But when you are 30,
they took close to 70 million for
Casemiro.
Let's go 90.
Fair point. Casemiro was washed and then they still collected.
That one I blame United. United should not have given
it. Meta and Arnold.
Yeah, Kili Kwame from Adenta, big ups to Kili, shows up at most of our road shows, suffering Chelsea fan though. He says Enzo Maresca didn't rotate because of the Conference League. He did the rotation because Palmer and Jackson were just coming back from injury, and 2 days for recovery wasn't enough. We are getting to the end of the season, and what you don't want is your important players getting injured. Chelsea fans won't be happy if we win the Conference League and fail to qualify for the Champions League next season. But the rotation was needed. I don't think he will rest players to play in a competition he has progressed in by winning every game. Let's calm down for him. So
you see, at the end of the day, I understand exactly what you've said. But looking at the fact that I think Kopama played 90 minutes in midweek. I stand to be corrected on that. If these guys were coming from injury in midweek,
those guys started midweek.
they started to play a lot of games. So you should balance it. You should balance their time and have a proper way
sure
of managing
both of them started midweek.
Yeah, both of them started.
So if they both were able to start midweek, it's difficult for you to
this game
tell
was a
me.
relatively easy game for them to win.
They busted.
It's difficult for me to say. I understand what you're saying about the recovery, but I think that that's also on the coach to manage the game and the fitness staff. Anyway.
Let's take a break here on the show. When we come back, we'll show you the Manchester derby, and then we'll get into some La Liga and Serie A stuff. Stay with us here on Scorecard. It's a derby thing in Manchester. United welcoming Manchester City to Old Trafford. Ruben Amorim has done pretty well against Pep Guardiola in recent times, and this was another installment. It ended goalless though, but United were left feeling like they should have left this game with more than they did. So goalless in the end. Coach, United playing such a good game. I thought United should have left this game with more than just 1 point.
At least they deserve to win. I think what actually Pep was trying to do, you see, Pep clearly understands the lack of, there's a combativeness in the middle of the park from his team. So what he actually did was to get controllers, a lot of technical players in the midfield to enable them control the game and take charge of the ball and not hand it over to United. So there was Kovacic, there was Bernardo Silva, there was Gundogan, there was Faye Foden, there was Kevin De Bruyne. 5 of them, all of them in the middle of the park, trying to make sure that they control the play and then take the steam, because Man United is proven that 5 back, 2 in front of them, 3, and then it's more or less they are trying to be like a transition team against the very technically gifted team like Man City. That is the only better way to approach them. If you watch the game, it lacked proper bite.
It did.
Because Man United season is gone when it comes to the EPL.
Yeah.
Man City themselves are not themselves throughout the season. They are virtually laboring. You see, they are going through labor.
They want the campaign to end so
they are
they
going
can
through
reset.
labor to get hold of that at least 4th or 5th Champions League spot. I think the first 3 has already been decided. I don't see how Nottingham Forest would throw that Champions League slot away. So Man City, they are just not the same. And if you watch the game tactically, Man United again showed that they need an experienced number 9. Those of you who are watching this, if you are a United fan, you can talk to the man, Sir Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers. Tell them, United don't need a Delap. A Delap. Ipswich time striker. That is what you say you are going to buy.
He scored 11 goals in a very
It
bad
doesn't
team.
matter. If you look at him, yes, he's had 1 good season in the Premiership. He scored 11 goals. But in terms of whether he can walk through United or come to United and match up to the pressure of playing for United, 21, how old is he? 21, 22. Very inexperienced, because there are clear pictorial evidence to show that you don't need that. How old is Rasmus Hojlund? He's 21 years. How old is Zexi? He's 23 years. How old is Garnacho? 20 years. How old is Ahmad? 22 years or 23 years.
I think he's younger than that. So Ahmad is...
Just about that, 21, 22.
21, 22. So if you look at that front, you don't need to go and bring another 21, 22-year-old player there. The only experienced player in that young Man United front line is Bruno Fernandes. So look at what he does. He's playing, he's coaching. He's playing, he's coaching. He cannot be the only one doing that. There must be another player or another experienced player within the front line who can play, coach, and demand from when Garnacho picks up the ball. He's running. Because Rasmus Hojlund don't have enough credit in the bank to tell him, raise your head and put the ball there. He does what he's, unless he's, but if you have an Osimhen there, he refuses to put the ball in the 1, 2. Osimhen looks at him. The 3rd ball is in the box. Because he knows what is coming. Osimhen will not accept that. Gyökeres will not accept that. So if you are Sir Jim Ratcliffe, you are Wilcox and those Barada and Blanc and co, big names, so-called technical brain when it comes to football. You cannot go and be saying that you're going to buy the lap. You come and do what? Because if you watch today's game, it was so crystal clear. You get here, very white, purest of white.
Like snow.
That this team is begging for an experienced number 9. I listened to Paul Scholes, my last one. He said, look, if you give this coach 2 very experienced players as part of his forward players, this coach will transform this Man United. Do you know how many goals they've scored?
37.
37 goals.
Yeah.
The only team to have scored less is Leicester City. I think Leicester or Southampton. Or there are 3 other teams.
The bottom barrel teams.
Andiko, Dwight York, Sheringham, Solskjaer, Tavares, Dimitar Berbatov, Wayne Rooney, Cristiano Ronaldo, Ruud van Nistelrooy, Ibrahimovic, Luis Saha.
Why did we foul power at a point?
Radamel.
I just want
and
to
these
say something.
people with their big money, single-digit billionaire. You don't want to spend money. You want to go and buy, what's the name of the boy?
Liam Delap.
Liam Delap. Is it because he's English?
I just want to say that even
What?
Andy Cole on his own has scored 34 goals before in the league.
Before in the league.
Imagine. Single-handedly.
And for the team to score 37. How many goals did Cristiano Ronaldo score? Wayne Rooney?
31.
31. And the whole Man United team, 37. Go and solve that problem. You are thinking about the lap. Osimhen is there. 65 million pounds. You get Osimhen. 26, 27. He walks into that. Look, the moment Osimhen walks into that dressing room, that pitch at Carrington, every Dick, Tom, and Harry there, player Papa has come. Well, Charlie, if you don't have money, send the team to attorney so that I will have my peace. Don't laugh and get you. I'm serious.
Coach, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
If United don't win the Europa League, why would Osimhen come and play for United?
No, for somebody like Osimhen,
You think he doesn't want to play in the Champions League?
he would love to play in the Champions League, okay? But for somebody like Osimhen, don't forget, if you listen to him, that is the team he supports when he was a child. You show him the cash. Right now, Rashford out of the wage bill, out of the Casemiro out, Lindelof out. All of you, see, you are saving some good money. The only player who deserves to be paid more than Osimhen in this United team is Bruno Fernandes. Give Osimhen 250,000 pounds.
You see that? I think the other team who want Osimhen is Chelsea.
It's Chelsea.
And Chelsea themselves are in
They're
a
in
bit
big
of a
trouble.
Champions League crisis.
They have financial
Crisis, Champions League crisis.
Both teams are looking funny.
Exactly.
You see?
Exactly.
So if you bought United and Glazers and Jim Ratcliffe, if they don't give this manager a minimum of £300 to spend,
Coach,
why did they go for it?
That is too much
But
money.
Coach, you've increased since Friday because first you said 250.
No, 250, 300 minimum. 250, 300. Because if you don't give this one, why did he go for him? He was doing fine at Sporting Lisbon. He's come, he said, look, this is my system. This system is player based.
I like that on Friday on Sports Panorama, he took me back down memory lane when he said, Osimhen, Gyökeres, especially Osimhen. I like that.
When are you waiting for? Say Jim Ratcliffe, when are you waiting for?
He will get to your players. Let me go to Spain.
The people are suffering. My strong man of God, Reverend
It's with Adaba.
Yosin and Reverend Israel. These are bishops.
Don't forget Pastor Mauli.
They support
Pastor
great
Mauli
teams.
is also suffering.
Men of God, they are praying. Prayer. The prayer is not breaking Jim Ratcliffe's head.
This summer there will be a breakthrough. Let's go to Spain and talk about Real Madrid because looks like Real Madrid do not want to win the La Liga title. They dropped points against 15th placed Valencia at the Santiago Bernabeu. It was a pretty poor performance from them. Referee added a lot of time added on, and then it was Valencia who managed to make use of the time added on. Let's get the highlights. Real Madrid falling to Valencia. It could be that result that possibly cost them the title. Let me start to use on this one. So Real Madrid created some good chances, couldn't convert. Valencia really stinging them in the possibly with the last significant play of the game.
Yeah, and you see, the thing about Real Madrid is there's a lot of good things and a lot of bad things. I think going forward, there's a lot of individual brilliance that allows them to create chances. they had an XG of about 3.7, 4.0, depending on the model you use. So, in terms of chances created, there was no reason not to win this match. When you create that much XG and you score 1 goal, it was just one of those days. And we saw some of the saves the keeper was making.
Two saves, missed penalty.
Some of the things that were just going past the post. So it was one of those days going for it. But at the back, their organization, it really bothers me how poorly organized they are sometimes. And we saw it on the corner, we saw it on the goal. The thing about Real Madrid is, and this is why sometimes in European games, it's like you can't believe they've won the game. Because they are so chaotic and so poorly organized, they concede a lot of chances. You see Courtois doing his thing, Rudiger throwing his body, Alaba here, Asensio here. Then they hit you on the counter because you have Vinicius, you have Mbappe, you have Rodrigo, you have Bellingham. Powerful ball carriers, great counter-attacking players who, if you are and great players in the final third who can make something out of nothing. So for me, this is why when everyone keeps saying that Arsenal won't beat Real Madrid, I'm not buying it so outright. I don't think it's that clear-cut because if you look at a team with that many flaws, a team who you don't know what you're going to get because there's just so much variance with the way they play. Because when I compare them to a team like, let's say, Barcelona, where we know that their system works very well, the offside trap means that they squeeze you, they press more coordinated and that kind of stuff. Because Real Madrid, if you see them press, it's a sorry sight, to be honest. So, for me, this is a very flawed team, but with a lot of individual quality up front, which bails them out a lot. And the truth is, at the end of the day, players are 75% of football games. Coaches can only do so much if the players are not good. So, Ancelotti has created a system that empowers Vinicius, Mbappe, Rodrigo, Bellingham, and whoever else he puts in the front line to kind of use their talent to win games. But I don't think he's done enough organizing the back. I think for a coach of his experience and a coach of his stature, their defensive organization and their off-the-ball structure is nowhere near good enough. They concede way too many chances. There's nothing wrong with conceding chances in a controlled way. But sometimes, what you see Courtois doing, it's not...
You should actually watch a full Real Madrid.
My biggest problem with them is the lack of leadership at the back. I've always fought Rudiger for that. Most often, he's tend to be the most reliable,
senior
always present, and he's the senior of them all. If you see the shape of the Real Madrid team from open play when they are defending, it's very. That is why when they are playing teams like Barcelona just one play.
And Rudiger himself is very tactically indisciplined.
And that's why, for me, I understand coach's point about the leadership, but I also have to blame the coach because the coach is seeing it every day.
He's seeing it every day, and he needs to get them to be a bit coordinated. You see, if you look at this game, you see the last goal they conceded. There was no Rudiger in the picture. The two centre backs were all not in the picture.
So it was Camavinga. No, Alaba was there. So Alaba was now right back.
In this game, they played Rudiger and Tchouameni as centre backs.
I think he brought on Alaba later. So Alaba was now running.
So at the end of the day, when you have your defenders not behind the ball but in front of the ball, you are in big trouble. And if you look at the pass, one pass through the middle, and the whole defensive shape was in tatters. For me, look. They'll have to, and another worry is the fact that if you look at this game again, they conceded from a set piece, and they nearly conceded again from a set piece. Arsenal will be looking at this. They themselves, it's like their set piece coach of late, he's sleeping. I don't know. I don't remember the last time they scored from a set piece.
Because the deliveries are from Bukayo Saka. He's back. So
he's back. So maybe once the originator of the delivery is back, look, Real will have to be careful. I still maintain they will eliminate Arsenal because of their the attacking force they've got as compared to that of Arsenal.
Let's get to Barcelona.
I don't disagree that Arsenal, that Real Madrid
just quick thoughts on that. We need to go to the Barcelona.
I'm just saying that the way everyone feels like Arsenal don't have a chance, I feel like people are really underrating Arsenal.
If Arsenal had their full complement of team,
I think even because of the disorganization at the back you've talked about.
Who knows?
When you are that disorganized, it's difficult for me to look at you and say that I can trust you.
But Real Madrid will have a completely different aura shape and attitude for a Champions League game.
That's the thing. We see it. They played Liverpool this season and they were equally disorganized. You remember that game? Liverpool, they've played Milan.
Look, Atletico should have knocked them out. Truth be told.
And even when they played Milan in the group stage as well, they were very...
Milan won.
But that's what we always say about Real Madrid. They can be bad for 70 minutes, 10 for 20 minutes, and they'll still win the game.
That's my point. The fact is, when you do that, it means that it's difficult for me to trust you from an analytical perspective. There's that, we know that there's that aura, there's that mental fortitude that they have, there's that belief that I will win the game. That's psychological.
But can you always call on it?
And the truth is, a lot of it is psychological. I think their their belief that they'll win, it's infectious. And I think the other team gets spooked a lot of the time, which is why they consider a lot of those late goals. Seriously, I think it's more psychological than tactical.
Yeah, it's possible.
Because they just feel like we are going to win. And the other team can feel, hey, these guys are sure they are going to win.
The tempo of the game has gone up. The chance creation quality has gone up.
Exactly. So for me, it just makes them that when you're analyzing them, they don't, analytically, they are not a good team. But knowing what we know about football, you can never count them out.
Let's get into Barcelona, and they were hoping that they would take advantage of Real Madrid's slip-up to make it an even more comfortable lead at the top of the table. Well, Pellegrini, Isco, Anthony and co had completely different ideas. And in fact, Nathan, I think the centre-back from Brazil, was literally the star man on the day for Real Betis. Let's get the highlights of that game. Huffed and puffed, Barcelona did, but Real Betis did just enough to take 1 point off them in that game.
You see, where the season is at the moment, between Barcelona and Real Madrid.
Yeah.
I think Barcelona will be
I think a win would have taken them 5 points clear.
Yeah. No, if they had won, they would have gone 6 points clear. Because it was 3
points,
before
yeah.
Real lost.
Yeah, so 6
So
points.
now it's a 4-point lead. But look, they will take it. If you look at what we just saw, based on the highlight, they deserve more than just a point from the game. But look.
They played all the football.
Yeah, they played all the football, but they just couldn't finish it up. On the part of Real Madrid, Ancelotti, he did some resting of some players and then it backfired. But they will need to hope and pray that Courtois or the other goalkeeper comes back.
I think Courtois was being rested just because he was getting a bit tired or something like that.
It wasn't
goalkeeper there, which tired again.
I was thinking the same thing, but now the goalkeepers, they are coming out, so they are playing.
They
are like centre backs.
We are not buying this, please.
Because you see,
without respect, they even need that exercise to prevent them from cramping.
There's an El Clasico Copa del Rey final.
Yep.
There's another El Clasico in the league. I want to have another El Clasico in the Champions League. and I think if Barcelona will win all of them.
Hey.
It's Rudiger and Co at the back.
No, that's why we see. That's why we are. You see, that's why we are talking about the disorganization. Because the disorganization, when you watch it,
they've watched tape. They've learned from their mistakes.
I forgot the last El Clasico we did, and it's like
just all over the place.
You can't believe that Militao and Rudiger won the Champions League.
The defending was shocking.
You can't believe it.
You can't believe that. So they will have to improve defensively.
Well, let me just show you highlights from the Italian Serie A game between Inter Milan and Parma. It was a really good game, ended 2-2. Inter have slipped up. Napoli are yet to play in their game as well, so they have a game in hand, just a couple of points behind Inter Milan. So they'll be hoping to win and close the gap to 1 point, I believe, if they do win their... Yeah, no, actually, so if they win, they go 1 point behind Inter Milan. Just check that. Let me just get to that for you. But let me just get the highlights and then I'll confirm the table and then the table dynamics as well. Yes, so Inter Milan have 68 points. Napoli have 64 points with a game in hand. If they win, it's 1 point. Title chase on.